William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, first performed around 1599, is a historical tragedy about political power, loyalty, ambition, and the consequences of assassination. Set in ancient Rome, the play follows Brutus as he joins a conspiracy to kill Julius Caesar, believing that Caesar's growing power threatens the Roman Republic. The decision sets in motion a chain of events that leads to political chaos, civil war, and tragedy. Shakespeare's literary style combines poetic language, powerful rhetoric, dramatic irony, symbolism, and complex political debate. Famous speeches by Brutus and Mark Antony demonstrate how language can shape public opinion and transform the course of history. The play explores themes of ambition, honor, betrayal, loyalty, fate, political power, persuasion, and the conflict between personal relationships and public duty. Julius Caesar remains important for its enduring examination of political violence and its central moral question: can an act committed in the name of protecting a society ultimately destroy the very thing it was meant to save? The story starts with Rome in celebration after Julius Caesar's victory over Pompey. Ordinary workers fill the streets to watch Caesar's triumphal procession, but the tribunes Flavius and Murellus are angry at the crowd's sudden loyalty. Not long ago, these same people cheered Pompey, and now they seem ready to worship the man who has defeated him. To the tribunes, Caesar's growing popularity is dangerous. They send the commoners home, then decide to remove decorations from Caesar's statues and weaken the public excitement around him before his power rises any higher. Soon afterward, Caesar appears in public with his wife Calpurnia, his friend Antony, Brutus, Cassius, Casca, Cicero, and others. During the festival of Lupercal, Caesar tells Antony to touch Calpurnia as he runs, hoping the ritual will help her have children. In the middle of the ceremony, a soothsayer calls out a warning: Caesar must beware the Ides of March. Caesar hears him but dismisses the message as foolish. After Caesar leaves, Cassius speaks privately with Brutus. Brutus has seemed troubled, and Cassius uses this uneasiness to begin drawing him into a larger political fear. He reminds Brutus that Caesar is only a man, not a god, and tells stories meant to make Caesar look physically weak and undeserving of such enormous power. Brutus admits that he does not want Caesar crowned king, though he also makes it clear that he loves Caesar. For Brutus, the problem is not personal hatred. It is the possibility that Rome may become ruled by one man. Caesar notices Cassius and tells Antony that he distrusts him because Cassius looks restless, serious, and hungry for change. Caesar's instinct is sharp, but he does not act on it. Meanwhile, Casca reports that Antony offered Caesar a crown 3 times, and Caesar refused it each time while the crowd cheered. Casca also says Caesar collapsed in public, yet the people continued to adore him. Cassius sees opportunity in all of this. He decides to forge letters that appear to come from Roman citizens, hoping they will convince Brutus that the people want him to act against Caesar. That night, Rome is shaken by violent storms and strange omens. Casca sees the chaos as a warning from the gods, while Cicero suggests that people often interpret signs according to their own fears. Cassius embraces the storm as proof that nature itself is protesting Caesar's rise. When Casca says the senators may crown Caesar the next day, Cassius grows more determined. Cinna, another conspirator, arrives, and Cassius gives him the forged letters to place where Brutus will find them. The conspirators know that Brutus's reputation is essential. If he joins them, their plot will look less like ambition and more like patriotism. Brutus later stands alone in his garden, struggling with his conscience. He has no proof that Caesar has become a tyrant, but he believes power may corrupt him once he is crowned. Brutus compares Caesar's possible future danger to a serpent still in the egg. Better, he thinks, to stop the threat before it fully forms. When he finds one of the forged letters, he takes it as the voice of Rome calling him to defend the Republic. Cassius and the other conspirators arrive at Brutus's house. Brutus joins their cause, but he also tries to shape it according to his own ideals. He refuses to let them swear an oath because he believes their purpose should be enough to bind them. He also refuses to include Cicero, since Cicero will not follow another man's plan. Most importantly, he rejects Cassius's suggestion that they kill Antony along with Caesar. Brutus believes murdering Antony would make them seem savage rather than honorable. This decision becomes one of his greatest mistakes, because Antony is far more dangerous than Brutus understands. Portia, Brutus's wife, notices that he is deeply disturbed and asks him to share his burden with her. She wants to prove that she is strong enough to know his secret. Brutus promises to speak with her later, but the plot pulls him away. Ligarius then arrives, sick but eager to support any honorable cause led by Brutus, and he joins the conspiracy. At Caesar's house, Calpurnia is terrified by dreams and omens. She dreams of Caesar's statue pouring blood while Romans smile and wash their hands in it. Caesar first rejects fear, insisting that death comes to everyone and brave men do not obsess over it. Yet Calpurnia pleads with him, and when the priests also report a bad sign from their sacrifice, Caesar agrees to stay home. Then Decius arrives and changes everything. He flatters Caesar and reinterprets Calpurnia's dream as a sign of Caesar's greatness, claiming that Rome will draw life and strength from him. He also tells Caesar that the Senate may offer him the crown that day and might mock him if he stays away because of his wife's fears. Caesar's pride wins over caution. He decides to go to the capital, where the conspirators are waiting to escort him. On the way, Artemidorus tries to warn Caesar with a letter naming the conspirators, while the soothsayer also hopes to speak with him again. Caesar refuses to read Artemidorus's message, saying personal matters can wait. Inside the Senate, the conspirators gather around him under the pretense of asking him to pardon Publius Cimber. Caesar refuses and presents himself as immovable. At that moment, Casca strikes first, and the others follow. Brutus stabs him last. When Caesar realizes Brutus has betrayed him too, he gives up and dies. The conspirators immediately announce that Rome is free. Brutus urges them to cover their hands and swords in Caesar's blood and go into the marketplace as defenders of liberty. Antony, who has been led away from the scene, sends a servant to ask for safety. Brutus welcomes him, believing Antony can be brought to their side, though Cassius remains uneasy. When Antony sees Caesar's body, he hides his true anger behind careful words. He shakes the conspirators' bloody hands and asks only to speak at Caesar's funeral. Cassius warns Brutus not to allow it, but Brutus believes he can control the situation. He agrees, as long as Antony speaks after him and does not blame the conspirators. Once alone with Caesar's body, Antony drops the mask. He predicts that Caesar's death will bring violence, revenge, and civil war to Rome. At the funeral, Brutus speaks first. He tells the crowd he loved Caesar, but he loved Rome more. According to Brutus, Caesar's ambition threatened to make Romans slaves, so killing him was necessary for the public good. The crowd accepts his explanation so quickly that some even want Brutus to take Caesar's place. Then Antony speaks, and the mood begins to shift. He never openly attacks Brutus, but he repeatedly questions whether Caesar truly was ambitious. He reminds the people that Caesar brought wealth to Rome, showed pity for the poor, and refused the crown 3 times. He pauses, weeps, and lets the crowd's emotions grow. Then he mentions Caesar's will, but delays reading it, making the people desperate to know its contents. He shows them Caesar's wounded body and connects each wound to the betrayal behind it, especially Brutus's. By the time Antony reveals that Caesar left money and public gardens to the citizens, the crowd is furious. They rush into the city to hunt the conspirators. In the chaos, they kill Cinna the poet simply because he shares a name with one of the conspirators. Power now shifts to Antony, Octavius, and Lepidus. Together they create a list of enemies to be executed, showing that Caesar's murder has not restored noble republican order. It has opened the door to ruthless political violence. Antony also reveals his contempt for Lepidus, treating him as a useful tool rather than an equal partner. Meanwhile, Brutus and Cassius raise armies outside Rome. In the military camp, tension grows between Brutus and Cassius. Brutus accuses Cassius of corruption and of refusing him money, while Cassius feels insulted and unloved. Their argument becomes bitter, but it finally breaks into reconciliation. Brutus then reveals that he has been carrying terrible grief. Portia has killed herself by swallowing burning coals. News also arrives that Antony, Octavius, and Lepidus have executed many senators. Despite Cassius's advice to wait for the enemy to come to them, Brutus argues that they should march to Philippi while their forces are still strong. Cassius gives in. That night, as Brutus tries to read in his tent, Caesar's ghost appears. The spirit tells him they will meet again at Philippi. No one else sees the apparition, but it leaves Brutus with the sense that Caesar's influence is not finished. Even dead, Caesar seems to be drawing his killers toward their punishment. At Philippi, Antony and Octavius face Brutus and Cassius. The leaders exchange insults, and Octavius promises revenge for Caesar. Cassius notices bad omens. The eagles that once seemed to favor his army have disappeared, replaced by scavenger birds. He and Brutus understand that they may not survive the day, and they say farewell before the battle begins. The fighting turns chaotic. Brutus attacks Octavius's forces too soon and has some success, but Antony's troops defeat Cassius's side. From a distance, Cassius sends Titinius to learn whether approaching soldiers are friends or enemies. Pindarus watches from higher ground and mistakenly reports that Titinius has been captured. Believing his closest friend is lost and his cause is ruined, Cassius orders Pindarus to kill him with the same sword used against Caesar. Moments later, Titinius returns alive with good news, only to find Cassius dead. Overcome with grief, Titinius kills himself too. At the end, Brutus is left with only a few followers. He asks them to help him die rather than be taken prisoner and paraded through Rome. After they refuse, Strato holds the sword while Brutus runs onto it. Brutus dies believing that his suicide is more honorable than his killing of Caesar. When Antony and Octavius find Brutus's body, Antony gives him an unexpected tribute. He says Brutus was the noblest of the conspirators because the others acted from envy, while Brutus truly believed he was serving Rome. Octavius orders that Brutus receive an honorable burial, and the victors leave the battlefield to celebrate. The play ends with Caesar avenged, the conspirators destroyed, and Rome's future passing into the hands of the men who survived the civil war.